God was waiting for this, and you finally did. There are moments in life that don't announce themselves loudly. They don't come with thunder. They don't arrive with applause. They arrive quietly, almost invisibly. And yet, they change everything. This is one of those moments. Not because you suddenly became perfect, not because you finally figured life out, but because you moved. You took a step you'd been avoiding. You chose courage where fear had lived too long. You listened, really listened to that still, small voice you kept pushing aside. And heaven noticed. Because sometimes what God is waiting for isn't a miracle from above, it's a decision from below. The waiting we don't talk about. We often talk about waiting on God. Waiting for answers. Waiting for healing. Waiting for doors to open. But what we don't talk about as much as this, sometimes God is waiting on us. Waiting for us to forgive. Waiting for us to let go. Waiting for us to stop running from who we were created to be. Not because God is impatient, but because love never forces. God doesn't drag us into purpose. He invites us. And invitations can sit unopened for years. The fear that keeps us still. Let's be honest for a moment. You didn't delay because you were lazy. You didn't hesitate because you didn't care. You waited because you were afraid of failing, afraid of being seen, afraid of trying again and being disappointed again, afraid that if you gave your whole heart this time, it might still not work. So you told yourself, later, when I'm ready, when the timing is right. But deep down, you knew the truth. You weren't waiting for the right time. You were waiting for the fear to go away, and it never did, because courage doesn't come after fear disappears. Courage comes when you move with fear still in your hands. The moment you finally moved, and then something shifted. Maybe it was exhaustion. Maybe it was prayer. Maybe it was pain that finally outweighed your fear. Or maybe it was simply this realization: staying the same was costing you more than changing ever could. So you did it. You sent the message. You started the journey. You said yes. You said no. You walked away. You returned. You moved. And in that moment, small as it may have felt, God was waiting. Not with anger. Not with judgment, but with grace. Why this step mattered so much. You might think it was just one decision, but heaven doesn't measure moments the way we do. That step wasn't just an action. It was alignment. Alignment between what you believe, who you are, and who you're becoming. It was proof not to God, but to you, that faith still lives in your bones. That hope didn't die. It was just resting. God's timing and human obedience. There's a mystery here worth sitting with. God's timing is perfect, but it often unfolds through human obedience. Not after everything is clear, not after the path is fully lit. But step by step, light by light. You didn't need the whole map. You only needed enough courage for the next step. And that's what you gave. To the one who almost gave up. If you're listening to this and thinking, this feels like it's for me, then let me say this clearly. You're not late. You're not disqualified. You're not forgotten. Delays are not denials. Detours are not failures. Sometimes they are classrooms. Sometimes they are protection. Sometimes they are preparation. And sometimes they are simply part of the story. The quiet celebration you didn't see. You might not have felt fireworks. You might not have heard angels sing. But make no mistake, your obedience mattered. In the unseen realm, something shifted, something aligned, something unlocked. Because when you move in faith, even trembling faith, you participate in something much bigger than yourself. This channel exists for moments like this, and this is why this channel exists. Not for perfection, not for performance, but for moments of awakening, moments where someone realizes, I'm not alone in this. I'm not weak for feeling this. I'm not crazy for believing again. If this message reached you today, it's not an accident. Someone needs encouragement. Someone needs hope. Someone needs a reminder that God hasn't given up on them. and maybe that someone is you. Why sharing this matters when you share a message like this. You're not just clicking a button, you're extending a hand. You never know who's watching late at night, who's silently struggling, who's one word away from giving. This video could be that word. So if this spoke to you, even a little, share it with someone who needs reassurance, someone who's afraid to move, someone who's waiting for permission they don't need. Why subscribing matters more than you think, and if you subscribe to this channel, you're choosing to stay connected to messages that nourish instead of drain. In a world that constantly shouts, "You're not enough," this space exists to remind you, you are becoming, you are growing. You are held. Subscribing isn't about numbers. It's about building a quiet community of people choosing depth over noise. A final word for you: if no one has told you this lately, let me say it now. That step you took mattered, even if it was small, even if no one applauded, even if you're still unsure. God was waiting for this, and you finally did it. Not perfectly. Not fearlessly, but faithfully. And that is more than enough. If this message touched your heart, share it. If you want more reflections like this, subscribe. And if you're still standing at the edge of a decision, take the step. You are not alone.